is 41. I did not check where we got up to, but I'm going to assume we're 40b, right in the middle, third line from the bottom. Amar Rabbi Yami, Amar Rav, Rami said, so the Gemara is continuing to analyze these prophetic verses. So Yechezkel is told, make yourselves implements for the exile. What are implements of an exile? Zuner, Ukara, Vishatiach. A candle or a lamp, a bowl, and a rug. Okay, b'choser kol, and a related thing. So these are things that you would need, kind of implements that you need to get by. And similarly, b'choser kol, when the Torah says that because in the curses section, because you did not serve God with when you had everything, so now you'll lack everything. What are you lacking? Ravami said, below ner, below shulchan. It means you'll be lacking a lamp and a table. Chisda Amar below Isha. Chisda says it means you'll be lacking a wife. Sheshas Amar below Shamash means you'll be lacking an attendant. Rav Nachman Amar below Deir. Rav Nachman says it means you'll be lacking knowledge or understanding. In Tana we have a brisa below Melech or below Ravav. Another brisa says it means without salt or fat. In other words, you won't have your food won't taste like anything. That's what a lack is. So Amar Abaye Naktinan Einani below Dea. Ella Bedea. Abaye says, what does it mean when a person is poor? When a person is poor, the real poverty is lacking understanding. The Marava Amru, in the West and in Palestine, they said Didabe. Didabe Kulabe. If you know this, if you understand this, then you know everything. Lo Dabe Mabe. If you don't know this, that the real wealth is knowledge and understanding. If you don't know that, Dakan Mabe, then you have nothing. What do you have? Dakane, if you acquire this, Machaser, then you don't need anything else. Dalakani, but if you don't acquire this, Makane, then what have you got? Amar Alexandri, Amar Alexandri said, you can actually interpret this two ways. It seems to me it means that you don't get, like, if you get well, it's a sign that you've been forgiven all your sins. If you're sick and you get well, then that is a sign that you've been forgiven. It says, it links God, who is the forgiver of sins and the healer of disease. So those are linked together, implying that if you've been healed by God, then you have been forgiven by God as well. Rav Hamnuna Amar, Rav Hamnuna says, a person who recovers from illness, he's rejuvenated. He returns to the days of his youth. Shanamar, Rutafash Besaromi Nar, his skin will be very fresh, Yashuv Lime'alumav, and he will return to his youthful days. So it links healing of fresh skin to youth. Kol Mishkavo Hafachta V'Chalya. The Tehillim states, you've turned over all of his bedding in his illness. Amar Yosef Lomar de Meshakach Limuda. This, like, turning over the bed, is a metaphor for forgetting your learning. So in other words, that illness can make you forget things, forget what you've learned. Rabbi Yosef Chalash, Rabbi Yosef got sick. And his memory of what he had learned was uprooted. He lost his memory. Ahadri Abaye Kame. So Abaye reviewed everything that he had learned from Rabbi Yosef to him. So he learned it again. In other words, his student taught his own learning again to him. And that's why in many places in the Gemara it says, Amar Rabbi Yosef lo shamili hadashmata. Rabbi Yosef says, I never heard this before. when he was told something, some brisa. Amalei Abai, Amrisa Nielan. Abai says, you taught this brisa to us. And this was like, you taught us this based on this particular brisa. So what's going on there is that Rabbi Yosef had gotten ill and forgotten everything, and Abai was teaching it to him afresh. When Rabbi had learned 13 versions of the Mishnah, so he taught 7 of them to Rabbi Chia. So this is very interesting, by the way, that like here you have an explicit statement of how the Mishnah came to be edited. Apparently, Rabbi, who was the final editor of the Mishnah, had 13 versions of the Mishnah that he redacted and edited into its final version. And here it's stated that he taught 7. He learned 13 versions of the Mishnah. Remember, it was an oral tradition, right? So everybody would teach it in their own style. So there were 13 extant versions. He taught Rabbi Chia 7 of them. Then he got sick. Rabbi Chia kamei. So Rabbi Chia taught him the 7 versions that he had learned from him. Shita azdu, but the other 6 were lost. Havu katsra, there was a laundry man. Hava shamil ela Rabbi, the kidahava garis lahu. He worked in Rabbi's house, and when Rabbi was teaching, this guy wasn't a student, but he was doing the laundry and he was paying attention. Also, Rabbi Chia v'gamar yason kami katsra. So Rabbi Chia went and he learned those other 6 versions from this laundryman. Yasav yason kami Rabbi, and then Rabbi Chia came back and taught them to Rabbi. So all 13 versions were restored. And whenever Rabbi would see that laundryman, Amalei Rabbi, Ata Sisa Osi, you made me and Chia, like you've recreated us, right? Or you made us what we are by teaching us these lost 6 versions. Or some say this is what he told him. Ata Asisa is Chia v'Chia Asausi. Actually, what happened was that you made Chia and Chia made me. Because that's how it took place, right? The laundryman taught Rabbi Chia, and Rabbi Chia taught Rabbi. Either way, this laundryman was responsible for the reinstitution of these 6 versions of the Mishnah to Rabbi, and who then, as I noted, redacted the version that we have now. Rabbi Alexandri says, "Gadol nation nasa lechola yoser mination nasa lechananya mishal bazaria." Miracle that is done to heal a sick person is greater than the miracle of the Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah who were saved from the furnace of Nebuchadnezzar. Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, Eshel Hedyot, because they were saved from a fire of a regular person, right? Nebuchadnezzar or his workers built this furnace, and it was a regular fire, and they were saved. They were thrown in the fire, and they weren't harmed. Like that kind of fire, that's not it's not a miraculous fire. You throw water on it, and it puts it out. Because but a person is sick, and the fire is the fire of his fever, right? You can't just pour water on it and put it out. This is something more mysterious. The cause of illness, the illness is caused in this sense by God. Who can put it out? You can't put it out. So the idea that you could put out this fire, which is not easily put out, in other words, that you could heal someone who's sick, that the origin of the sickness is mysterious, that is a greater thing than being saved from a physical fire. Interesting to ponder, by the way, that of course now we are much better versed in what actually causes a lot of sicknesses. Still, we don't know as much as we think we know, right? Or there are still things that we don't know. But interesting to think about how that's changed over the centuries.
I find it fascinating that the halakha was long ago established that we're supposed to go to doctors. Back in a time when doctors really didn't have anything that did any good and had a lot of things that did bad. Now
Yes,
it's the other
interesting,
way
right?
around.
Uh-huh. And you know, let's not kid ourselves. In 100 years, they'll be saying the same thing
Same
about
thing
us,
about us, right?
right?
Uh,
Yeah.
I
yeah, I
think
wasn't
blood,
going to bring that up yesterday with Dr. Oberstein. He's an oncologist, and a lot of the cancer treatments we have are just horrific.
yeah.
Yeah. V'yamar Rav Alexandrai, Yamar Rav Chia bar Abba, Rav Alexandri also said the name of Rav Chia. V'yamar lo Amar Rav Yeshua ben Levi. Some say the source is Rav Yeshua. Keva shigia kisel shel adam. When a person's time is up, hakol moshlim bo. Then you know he's easily killed. Anybody or any creature can you know overcome him. Shenamar. When Cain, after God tells him his punishment for killing Hevel is that you know he'll have the mark of Cain on him and he has to wander around. So Cain says, "But anyone, whoever meets me will kill me," right? So that indicates, like you know, if your time is up, or if you're in the position where you know it's time for you to go, then anybody can, whoever meets you can kill you. Rav says, derives the same lesson from a different verse. They're standing for your judgment today, because everyone is your servant. So this is interpreted as whoever the servant is can take you when it's judgment day for you. Rabbi Barshela Amrulay, they told Rabbi Barshela, Shachiv Gavra Gavar, this tall guy, or great man, has died. How did it happen? Havarachiv Girdono Zutra, he was riding a donkey. Mata Titar, and he got to a bridge. Istavit Shadye Vakashachi, the donkey, you know, the donkey got went crazy and threw him off into the river, and he died. Karel Nafshe, and he Rabbi Barshela's using the same verse, like you're when your time is up, you know, when it's judgment day for you, then anybody, even your donkey, can kill you. Shmuel Chaziel Akraba Yasiva ala Kroksa. Shmuel saw a scorpion sitting on a frog. This is reminiscent of, I don't know if it's Aesop's fables or whatever, but they're crossing the river. V'yavranara, the scorpion is crossing the river on the back of a frog. Tarka Gavra Umais, and gets to the other side and stings somebody, and that guy died. So here you've got a scorpion that was on the other side of the river. When it's judgment day for you, the scorpion will find a way to get to you and kill you. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, "Ein mevachrin sachola elalumi shechalatzo chama." Only visit a sick person who has a fever. That's what his illness, how his illness manifests in a fever. Lapuke might. So who shouldn't you visit then? Lapuke Hadatanya. Rabbi Yossi ben Prata Omer Mishum Rabbi Eliezer, to exclude what Rabbi Yossi said. Ein mevachrin lo choli me'ayim. Don't visit somebody who has an intestinal disease, lo choli ha'ayin, or an optical disease, lo mechushe rosh, or a headache. Why? So don't go visit someone with an intestinal disease because it's embarrassing for the patient, right? The patient can't control his bowels. And so, like, you know, give him a break. You know, he doesn't need to have people around when he's got this kind of illness. But what about vision diseases and headaches? Like, why shouldn't you visit them? Because Rav Yehuda says, Rav Yehuda said, Dibura kashil eina, having a conversation that's hard on your eyes. But it's good for a fever. So what do you do when you go visit a sick person? You talk to him, right? So if he has a fever, that's good for the fever. That reduces the fever. If he has a problem with his eyes, that makes it worse. So therefore, it's better not to visit him. Rava said, "Hi Ishta, this fever, you love the parvanka, the malacha, the mosa. If not for the fact that you know that it's that's bad for you, right? That it kills you. Male would be, if it weren't bad for you, it would be good for you. Kechizra ladikle would be as good for you, like like the thorns around date trees. In other words, that protects it. Chad l'tlasin yamin. And if you have a fever every once a month, once in 30 days, v'chi tiryake lagufa. It's like a tiryake for your body. The tiryake is apparently some kind of a salve that's like an anti-poison or something. They even given a word here in the English, the theriaka, which is from apparently from the Greek, that was some kind of an antidote, a salve. So in other words, it's good to have a fever now and then. It's like somebody once told me, if you drive your car at a high speed for a while, it burns gunk off the valves, whatever that means. So it's good to have a fever once in a while.
Yeah, Stengsall says it's a purported antidote for snake venom.
So in other words, it's good for you. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Amar, Lo hivlo tiryaka. You know what? I don't want the fever. I'd rather do without the fever every 30 days and not have the beneficial effects either. Amar Rav Bar Yonasan Rav Arsan Yafa L'chol Refuaso. A arsan, which actually sounds like the word poison, but apparently means some kind of grain. It's good for healing. My arson, what is this grain? Amar Yonasan Chushla Desare Atikta Deresh Nafya. The peel of old barley that you remove at the beginning of the processing of barley. These peels are, this is good for you. It's good medication. Amar Abaye, Bayan bishula kain bisra the Torah, but you have to cook it well. You have to cook it like tough meat, like the meat of an ox, right? It needs to be cooked a lot before you can use it. Yosef Amar, or Yosef said, what is our son? Samide desare atikta. The reish nafya. It's the fine flour of old barley that they it's the first product of the sifting. Amar bayan bishul can be started the Torah. The same thing. It has to be boiled, a lot in order to be useful. Amar Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, Bardam and Mavakrim. You should not visit another person, a sick person. You shouldn't visit someone who has Bardam, and don't even say Bardam. What is my tama? What is this? Amar Rabbi Elazar Neshu Kamayan Hanobea, because he's like a wellspring of blood. The Amar Rabbi Elazar Lamanik Rashma Bardam. Why is it called Bardam? Shehu Kamayan Hanobea. Because like the words, whatever the source is, it sounds like the Hebrew bor dam, like a well of blood or a pit of blood. So some kind of a hemostatic disease, I guess. So don't go visit that person either. Again, either because it's embarrassing for the person. He doesn't need you to see blood coming out of all of his orifices. Or maybe it's a fear of contracting it. Although that would apply to a lot of other things too. Okay, so back to our Mishnah. So our Mishnah said if you're subject to another, where you can't benefit somebody, you can heal him of a disease. So, but not of like healing of money. You can't pay off his debts. So what does the Mishnah mean by this difference between a healing of the nefesh and a healing of money? Ilema, refuas nefesh bechinam, and refuas molen b'sachar. So maybe it's because a doctor is going to treat you for free, but a financial advisor is going to charge you. Like, why do you use these specific examples? You should say, any kind of healing that you do, if you do it for free, that's fine, because then he's not getting a monetary benefit. But if it's something that is usually done for payment. You can't do it for the person. Like, why are you using these specific examples of such things? Ella, so what it means is refuah nefesh gufo. Healing of the nefesh means the healing of the body, physical healing. Refuah mamon behemta, and healing of monetary means, like, doesn't really mean healing of debts. It means healing his property. Like if he has an animal who's sick, then you can't heal that animal. No veterinary work, but physician work you can do. And what's the reason for this? That's not specific, but it's possible that the reason is that, if you can heal a person's physical ailment, then you're required to do so. That's like a mitzvah. You can't make a nether against something that is a mitzvah, right? But healing an animal, it's like you can let the animal die, right? So that, if you do that, you're providing benefit to him, and if that would go contrary to the nether. Amar Zutra Bartavi Amar Rav Zutra said, Aval Omerlo some ploni afterlo. You can't go and practice veterinarian medicine on the animal, but you can advise him. You say, you know what, if you give the animal this antibiotic or this medicine or whatever, that give him advice. Some ploni afterlo, some ploni ralo. Like, what's a good medicine to give the animal? That is something that advice that can be provided, that is provided for free, and therefore you can give the person that advice, and it wouldn't go contrary to the nether. Okay, next Mishnah. Verochetz imo bambati gedola. Again, talking about someone who you can't benefit from because of a nether. You can bathe together with him in a large bath, a large tub, or a large pool. Avalobiktan, not a small one, because in a large one, the presence of one other person doesn't change anything, doesn't raise the level of the water, doesn't add or detract from the heat of the water. But if you're in a small pool, if you get in, the water level goes higher, and then the other person gets a better bath, a better experience. And you can sleep with the person in the same bed. But Rav Yehuda qualifies that you can sleep with them in the summer. And this is not a sexual thing, by the way. This is just like, people sleep in the same bed to stay warm, or because there's only one bed. But in the winter, there would be a benefit there of, your body heat will warm that person.
Of course.
Because then he gets that benefit, and that would be contrary to the nether. You can, even if you can't sleep in the same bed, you can lie down on the bed. You don't have to worry that you're going to fall asleep and benefit from each other's heat. And you can eat from the same table. And the concern there would be, you'd be eating each other's food, but that's not a concern. You don't have to worry about that. But you can't eat from the same bowl. Because you're eating from the same bowl, then well, not necessarily like serving yourself from the same bowl. So if I serve myself first, whatever I leave over benefits you, right? If I help myself to the whole bowl, then you would have nothing. If I leave something for you, then you have something. So that's a benefit. It would be contrary to the nether. But if you have, if you're at my house and we're passing around the cholent, and it's going to come back to me, and I'm going to see that you ate the whole cholent, that would be, no one would do that, basically. So then it's okay. Like, you can eat from the same serving bowl, because if the Baal Bayis is there, if the host is there, then you're careful to take only, a proportional amount to your portion, depending on the other people at the table. And so we're not concerned, or you're not, whatever you leave was yours in the first place, and not mine. Tanya, we have a brisa that says more details. Don't bathe together and don't sleep together in the same bed. Whether the bed or the pool is large or small. So says Rameir. As we said in the Mishnah, in a large bed, you can only sleep together. You can even sleep together in the winter because it's a large bed. So you each have your side of the bed. You're not warming each other. Uktana bimosachama mutar. But a small bed in the summer is okay. The winter, right. So a small bed in the winter would not be good because you warm each other, but in the summer it's even okay to sleep in the small bed. And Rabbi Yehuda says that contrary to Rav Meir, you can only bathe together in a large pool but not a small pool, which accords with our Mishnah. And you can use a steam bath even in a small room because there it's hot anyway. You're not benefiting from the other person's heat. But again, the Brisa is echoing the Mishnah. You can lie down with somebody on the bed and eat from the same table, but not from the bowl. As we said in the Mishnah, if the host is there, then you can serve yourselves from the same bowl because everyone will only take their own portion from within the bowl. And what does hatamchle hachozer mean? The returning bowl means the bowl that will return to the host, who will see, that everybody got their share, which is, as we explained to begin with. A second. Okay. All right. Next Mishnah. Maybe it's a good place to stop. No, we can do this Mishnah. It's a very short one. Lo yochal imo min ha'evu shel polim. You can't eat from the trough that's put before the workers to have their lunch. So even though you have a lot of workers, you put a lot of food in there, the workers are going to eat everything, right? I mean, they're working there. We're talking about physical labor. Whenever food you put out there, will be eaten. So it's not like some will be left over anyway. So anything that you eat is anything that you leave over will be eaten by the other one. So would be subject to the neder. And you shouldn't work together to get in the same furrow of or the same row of a vineyard, because Rameir, that's what Rameir says. You can, but you can be in the same row as long as you're distant from each other. What's the issue here? If you're working close together and you're digging up the ground, then you're softening the adjacent ground for the next guy. So that's a benefit that would be forbidden by the neder that you made. But if you're working on opposite ends or further away from each other, then it's not a problem. Then you don't affect his work. So Gemara says everybody says that if they're close together, then you can't work together because, as I just said, you're softening or easing the work for the other guy. The dispute is if they're far from each other. Rameir says, well, there's no problem here really, but if you let them work in the same row, even if they're far away, eventually they'll come to work closer together, and that would be a problem. And then you would be softening the ground for the other guy. But the rabbis say, no, we're not concerned. You can work far away. It's when you get close that you have to remember not to work together. And we'll pick up here tomorrow.
Thank you, Dov. Have a good day. Good day, everyone.
You too.
Yasha Koach, have a great day.